What is up, everybody? Welcome to Week 16. Dave and Dan. And before I get into anything Dave or Dan related, I simply will let everybody know. I know you've probably been, flooding the channel looking for some NHL videos this week. I took a week to not do those videos because, as Dave knows, I've been injured for a couple of months now, and a physical therapist told me, well, tell me about your schedule. And I said, well, I essentially stay up till 4:30 in the morning to crank out a hockey video so that mine gets out there before everybody and I can get the deals. And they're like, well, and then how much do you sleep? I'm like, well, I try to get up as early as possible on the limited sleep just to try to see any updates and get those out to people on my Patreon. They're like, yeah, that's probably why it's not healing. So I needed to take a week to try to get on a normal schedule and sleep because my neck has been injured for a couple of months now. And, it's not been good. It's not been fun. So I'm trying a week to rest that. And I know that, I truly know this means a grand total of nothing to you. You expect Phillip Rivers to throw for 350 yards, and if he screwed you out of a bet, curse him to death. If my neck was destroyed for 2 more years, but you hit one more parlay, you'd probably hit that button. As you comment, I would never do that, but secretly in your own home, you'd probably hit the button. But with that said, I guess it's a good way to segue into Phillip Rivers, who I have never been so livid after a winning bet. Livid.
Yeah, that could have gone bad, man. Could have gone bad.
And I'm going to explain why, and maybe I'll give you a longer story here. So I don't know about you, but I believe in everybody's betting life, in their sports betting life, there has to be a moment where you truly understand, anything that I think is, I'm talking about 100% confident in, and there's quote unquote no way that this won't happen. There has to be a moment where there was a time in your sports betting career where you go, you know what? From this point forward, it doesn't matter if I am the most confident. Some miscellaneous unknown factor that the world is going to throw in there that was unforeseeable by every stretch of the imagination has to be factored in. I don't know if we can come up with a name for that. It's like a villain, I don't know, something tucked in the woods that's going to disrupt everything that you could have never planned for. And for me this week, remember, in a winning bet, I saw the exact Phillip Rivers I knew that I was going to see. Forget about people telling you, well, they wanted to make sure they didn't throw anything down the field. That's what, no. This is what Rivers was even a couple years ago. As I told you, let's see if the running backs open, and then I'll try to look at some tight ends and receivers. The running backs led the team in targets by a mile. The reason I went gung-ho is because it should have been running back, singular. There hasn't been a bigger workhorse in this league than Jonathan Taylor. He's been an every down, every snap player all season long. So when I see Amir Abdullah out of left field, and I even said this on the Patreon, if you're in the chat rooms, I said, those are my catches. Those are our catches. 5 catches for like 50 yards from Philly checkdowns himself. Now, Taylor still did get his 3 catches, and he did go over 2.5, which was even money. And he did go over his 10.5, which is receiving total opened at if you jumped on, and then it went up to like 12.5, 13.5, 14.5. But the skin of my teeth I had to get through that on was shocking, perplexing. Who could have factored in that a special teams running back who has barely ever been used this season comes out and cashes in on my Philly check down roll? Now, this wasn't the moment for me, by the way. I don't know if you have a story, Dave. I'll tell this one really quickly. After watching the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs, year one, I mean, he's a starter, barely lose to the Patriots. They're scoring every single drive. They win the Super Bowl the next year. They go to the Super Bowl, one-loss team, destroying everybody. Then the next year, same thing. 1 seed, destroying everybody. They have the miracle comeback against the Bills. On the Bengals, they score touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. They're up by multiple touchdowns at halftime at home. If the Grim Reaper showed up and said, listen, man, you're actually going to die if the Bengals win this game, I'd say, fine. Then I would have put my life on the line. That a team I never saw struggle like that, only in the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at that point. And that was from snap one to the very end of the game. Their line couldn't hold. But I saw them march on this Bengals team. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Patrick Mahomes scores 3 points the rest of the game. Interceptions all over the place. And now that we say this with Mahomes changing year, no, this was the Mahomes scoring every single drive. After that day, I said, there will never be a bet that is a sure thing in all of my existence. I can be 99.9% certain like I was about Rivers, but there's always the 0.1% chance that could screw you. And in this case, it was Amir Abdullah. What do you think about that, Dave? And did you have a moment where you go, you know what? Forget this whole sure thing nonsense.
I'm sure I have, because I never look at anything as a sure thing, man. I can't. Plus, injuries are always a possibility. There's just so many ways something can go wrong. Like there are spots I like more than others that I will bet more on than I would others, no doubt about it. But absolutely, there are spots like that. I mean, I've had many this year where, and this is just going to happen when you're getting as many bets down as you do, but like where I've won the bet and I look back and I go, I should have lost that bet. Like I felt good about it, and my analysis on that bet ended up being wrong, and it still won, right? Like you have to be honest with yourself sometimes. Like there's times where you will win a bet and you'll be right when you're wrong, and a lot of times you'll be wrong when you're right. It feels good to get it right, to win when you're wrong. It feels horrible to lose when you got it right. And
Yes, yeah.
you happen to get it right while, I mean, I guess you could say you were still right, but at the same time, like, you never know. You never know. And you got,
yeah, I know. And I guess injuries are always kind of, rolled into it. But like journeyman running back, a journeyman special teams running back getting the 5 catches.
Steichen had to have had something. There had to have been something Steichen wanted to do, because he's a sharp coach. I was talking to someone about this the other day. It made on the surface, it makes no sense, but there had to have been some very specific reason that he was doing that. With Phillip Rivers out there, the defense playing well. I can't put my finger on it, but there had to have been something there.
Well, with that said, I know we barely got through that, but I don't know how many weeks I have left in my life with Phillip Rivers, because it's going to be a max like 3. And if they lose this game, who knows? Maybe they do feel the pressure and look at Anthony Richardson or something, because until it runs dry. See, the one positive, as I've always told you people, when you lose a bet, at least the number will stay in the same area. In this particular instance, we won the bet, and we are looking at Dave's original number a little lower than it even. We're looking at a little lower than Dave's original number. Now,
what did I have?
I think you had it
13 and a half, right? Maybe 15 and a half.
Yeah, I believe we were both, once again, I believe this was somewhere in the middle. I think what we just did was we rolled over where Jonathan Taylor kind of typically would be or something like that. I don't know exactly what it was, but we don't have the receptions aren't available yet. I imagine the 2.5 will be around -110. So let's just say, 13.5 is the opening line here. And then I'm going to imagine 2.5 catches, because he only got to 3, will be around -110. In the event that it's not another, like, I'm not going to bank on Abdullah having another massive game. I still believe, there were, I believe, 9 or 10 targets to the running backs. This is who Phil is. tight ends, running backs, but mostly running backs. Now, maybe there will be a concerted effort to push it a little bit more because now there's all the attention paid to, the short passing game. But he's going against an injury-riddled defense. That the play calling is all about getting the ball out of his hands. Oh, by the way, that long back shoulder throw, even though I won't factor this in, the opening throw was like a 25-yard sideline throw to Jonathan Taylor. So I forgot about that one. That would have just nailed everything right off the bat. All I'm trying to say is, while I don't know what the hell happened last week, could we get Amir Abdullah again? It will make me sick to my stomach. But these are my last weeks ever of Phil. I never thought I was going to get these again. And I got him again, and I'm taking Taylor again.
Yeah, you just got to ride the wave until it crashes, man. At this point, if you have Phillip Rivers starting Monday Night Football, I mean, look, we already know who he is at this point. The ceiling for Phillip Rivers feels like 150 passing yards. That's pretty much what it is. He had that throw to Josh Downs, you score there. But aside from that, man, the dude has zero arm strength whatsoever. Do I worry a little bit that they just force him to throw to wide receivers? Yeah, maybe, but at 13.5, I think that's a decent enough number. They're at home too. You have no weather here in this game against the Niners. They are significant dogs, but only 6 points last I looked. Like 6-point dogs, that's not all that bad. The defense held up well last time out. I could see Jonathan Taylor getting there. Yeah, I'll ride that with you. What are they, -6.5 right now? Let's see. I think that's what it is. 6.5-point spread, 6 points. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. By the way, we didn't get the benefit in a 13.5-point spread of being down by multiple scores. Like,
I mean, Phillip, they should have won that game. I'm not going to say Phillip Rivers put them in position to win. The defense kind of did, right? But he did really what they asked him to do. The game plan, the script was pretty obvious in that spot. It was okay. And I had mentioned this. It might have been on this show or on another. Jonathan Taylor had a 20.5-yard rushing attempt or 20.5 rushing attempt prop in that game. When do you ever see a team that is a 2-touchdown dog have a running back with a 20.5 rushing attempt prop? You knew what they were going to do out of the gate. Phillip Rivers said it. He's like, I'm not coming in here to win games with my arm. He said, we're going to run the heck out of the ball. And that's what they did. But yeah, what you're saying is no one really expected that. They should have won. That's what sucks about the new kickoff rule, by the way. Like
same thing when they played Arizona. Seattle played Arizona earlier in the year. Arizona 3-touchdown comeback, but there was 20 seconds on the clock. I believe the kicker messed up the kickoff. They got it at the 40. Darnold made one throw, and then it was a field goal to win it.
Well, especially if you're only down by anywhere from 1 to 3 points. If you kick it off and it goes to the 35, the leg that these kickers have now, right? Like they're kicking 60-yarders with frequency, like with regularity. So how much do you really need? You need 20 yards to get them in range for a 60-yarder? Like, sure, it's not a sure thing. It's not a lock, but 20 yards is a lot different than when it used to be. You'd have to drive a pretty decent length of the field to put yourselves in position. Now, a few yards, and like I'm not absolving the defense, but what I am saying is the defense all game long played so well for the Colts. They should have won that game.
And I highly doubt that they would list this guy, but if you can find a friend and you're somewhat of an actor and you can make this up on the spot, like, you know what? I think Rivers is going to do something. I'll take Amir Abdullah for 20 receiving yards. See if you can somehow find the backup running back, because what are the odds he'll even be listed in a game like this, Dave?
Well, what would you put it at if it was?
Well, you can't list him for anything more than 8.5 simply because the guy never really plays.
Let me see how much he played last week. What did he have? What did he end up finishing with?
I believe he had 5 catches for like 50 yards. I mean, the Philly special.
Yeah. All right, so I'm pulling it up right now.
Of all people to use that with, you're probably not the best one, or definitely the best one. Reinventing the Philly special.
Oh, this is crazy. He had 5 for 32, but he ran 6 routes.
So that tells you that was specifically designed for
I
him,
think
right?
so. He was targeted 5 times on 6 routes. That's crazy. Like, I mean,
Well,
that's yeah.
well, if I remember correctly, and it really sickened me, once in a while, they'd pull Taylor off after first down. They would give up, like Abdullah had a couple rushes, correct?
Yeah, let me see. I really think a lot of this was just nobody expected Amir Abdullah to be out there. Yeah, he had 4 rushing attempts. So he played just to put this in perspective, right? Amir Abdullah played 14 snaps and touched the ball 9 times on 14 snaps. That's clearly by design. That you're trying to do something to throw the opponent off, even if it's with Amir Abdullah. I don't know what Steichen was doing, but I know he was doing something. Otherwise, it just wouldn't make any sense at all.
God, even just hearing that still kind of angers me. So I guess we will go on to a different topic here, because there are definitely a couple different games here on this slate, and it's always interesting when you have one team with a lot to play for, one team with nothing to play for, how that kind of jives. You see that in the Chargers-Cowboys game, where the Chargers still have a lot to play for. They have seeding, maybe they have outside dreams of being the number 1 overall seed if things kind of fall their way. And they're going to Dallas. You know what's really funny? We always talk about prisoners of the moment, like, oh, this team, when R.Rice came back and the Chiefs won 2 in a row, they said it's the best team in the league by far. Like, everybody else was a whole tier below that. And now, obviously, you see what's happened to the Chiefs.
Well, I admitted to someone yesterday on a show, Andy, that it's not just the Chiefs. The Cowboys duped me a little bit too. I mean, the Cowboys came in, got a big win against the Eagles, which that wasn't surprising. I mean, the fashion that they won, sure, but it wasn't surprising that they got the win. Just given that they're playing the Super Bowl champs, they're at home. Eagles beat them first time. It's a divisional rivalry. But then they come in the following week on Thanksgiving, right, on short rest, and get a win over the Chiefs. And I sit back and I look at this and I said, you know what? The Cowboys aren't actually good. It's just neither are the Chiefs, and the Eagles aren't nearly as good as they were last year. So the Cowboys kind of, suckered people into thinking like this team is back, until you realize that no, all of this media hype around the Chiefs was fake. It was all fake. And the Eagles had not been playing well. Yeah, the Cowboys beat both of them, but what does it actually matter? So the Chiefs weren't actually very good. Their defense is, but that offense isn't. And then the Cowboys end up being exactly who we thought they were at the beginning of the season. They are, in fact, the Cowboys. Again, I hate to be I hate to do this whole like cookie cutter comment that everyone makes all the time where you go, oh, well, it's hard to tell who's really good this year. I really do think the level of parity this season in the NFL is beyond anything we've seen in a while. Like, there is no dominant Chiefs team. There is no dominant Eagles team like we saw last year. There is no dominant Patriots team. There's good teams, but if the Bills lost, it wouldn't shock me if they lost to Denver or to Jacksonville even, or to the Chargers, or if the Eagles lost. I mean, I think the best team right now, assuming Devontae Adams is okay, is the Rams. But I don't see a single team out there right now that if they lost, I would scratch my head and go, man, I never saw that coming.
Well, I bring that up because the Dallas Cowboys 2 weeks ago, they beat both teams who played in the Super Bowl, and they said this is easily one of the best 3 teams in the league now that the defense has been revamped and the run defense is playing good, way better with Quentin Williams. Now they fixed that problem, and they said nobody wants to play this team in the playoffs. Teams are praying that they don't make the playoff. They lose back-to-back games. Detroit's throwing all over it. It is so funny how come something can happen to me once and then I go, you will never see me act like that again. Yet people whose job is to follow this professionally every single year. Now, maybe you can just say it's for the clicks, it's for the views, this, that, and the other. But I don't think that they're Academy Award-winning actors. And when you see them speak about these things. They speak in such absolutes that I just wish, if AI can do anything good, it's in real time. They should immediately play some of their old takes. One of those old takes exposed should actually play simultaneously as they're revising their take a couple of weeks later. So we have this game here between the Chargers at Dallas, obviously optimal environment indoors. It's one of the kind of interesting facets of fantasy that you don't really think about a ton, but then all of a sudden when you have Burrow at home playing against Lamar in freezing temperatures, you kind of realize, yeah, I wish I didn't have to play this guy in this environment during the playoffs. But here you got teams playing indoors, and there's a certain player who missed a ton of time. I don't know where you stand on this guy, but I'm always looking to be early on things. We saw him play a game. Then we saw increased involvement in utilization. Maybe we see the next tier for Hampton, who earlier in the year getting a workhorse type of role. Now, obviously, that's not going to be the case because Vidal has earned a certain number of touches. But what does this Cowboys team have to play for other than the supposed 0.01 or whatever it was, the 1% chance of making the playoffs? Are we going to see this ultra-motivated defense? We see this Chargers team kind of stick with the run, even if they're falling behind like they did a little bit in the last game. I feel like this is a team that's going to have their fair share of rushing attempts in this game.
Yeah, I think so too. I've noticed that if I had to guess, the reason Vidal is playing a lot more snaps than Hampton in both games since Hampton returned is just for pass blocking purposes. They have no offensive line, so that's not good. Slater went down before the season started. Alt went down for the year. They have no offensive line, and you've got a quarterback with a recently surgically repaired hand. So I think it actually makes a lot of sense to look at this and say, oh, Vidal's playing 65% of snaps each game because you've got him pass blocking a lot. But you have Hampton, who had 13 and 15 rushing attempts since returning. He's still being utilized frequently. Hey, similar to Abdullah. You look at like targets or touches per snap.
That's a sad state of affairs where my Hampton pick here gets compared to, come on, he's just like Abdullah showing up every once in a while.
Obviously not apples to apples. What I'm saying though, of course, is just that even though his snap count is decreased, honestly, he played 24 snaps last game and had 16 touches. Pretty significant, right? When you consider it, he had 15 touches the previous week against Philly and played 23 snaps. So if Hampton's out there on the field, in all likelihood, he's touching the football. 46.5 is a good number. My guess is that that's only on BetMGM and maybe some like DFS pick'em sites right now and not on the other books. Maybe it is. But I do actually like that number. The truth is they want to run the football more right now, especially with Herbert not at 100%. Hampton's cleared that in back-to-back games with 13 and 15 against more difficult matchups for sure than he'll get against this Dallas Cowboys squad. So, no, I actually think that's a good find right there. By any chance, does Kamani Vidal have a rushing prop?
Yeah, he did. I believe it was like 32. It was something, you'd have to recheck it, but I'm just going off of the single odd shopper scroll, if my memory, and it's pretty sick sometimes that I can remember off of a single scroll. Like if you tested me on anybody, it was one odd shopper scroll that I try to do before this show just to see how many players have populated, how many I could remember. Yet if it's something I'm not remotely interested in, I'm not remembering anybody's name who I meet. I mean,
I know. Have somebody ask you to do something around the house. What was the score in week 1 between the Dolphins and the Jaguars? By the way, that is who played in week 1.
Of course. Oh, what did I just pull out of my ass over the weekend? It was a wild story. I started telling a story. I'm like, I know it was that date because it was game 6 of...
I'm wrong. It was Indy. Sorry.
By the way, I understand the offensive line is ravaged, but whatever it is about these Chargers, they stick with it even if it's not working early, and especially if the game is close. They seem to keep all games kind of close, these Harbaugh teams. And when it comes to running in between the tackles, yes. Well, and also when you're looking at percentages of snaps, what's the likelihood? Vidal's is going up or down, or Hampton's is going up or down. So if we follow the little trajectory here, third game now, I don't know. I just, really one nice run can get you a chunk of this, and we'll see what it ends up at the other books. I didn't have the time to even see if it was available.
I would much rather play Hampton because
all right,
the trajectory hasn't changed a ton in these two games, but it's not going to go back towards Vidal. You know what I mean? If there's one, if there's one way that it does move, it's almost certainly going to be that it moves to Hampton, even if Vidal has, more involvement as a pass blocker. But we don't care about that. We care about the rushing yards. I'm with you. By the way, do you know what the spread is on that game?
Oh, I did happen to see that. I believe the Cowboys are favored by either 2.5 or 3.5.
You got it. Yeah, 2.5 point favorites at home. So inside of a field goal against the Chargers, still favored in that game. It says a lot.
I wonder if that falls on the donkey charts here. Are they on there? Are either of those teams on there?
Mm-mm.
We do not have either of those teams on there.
I love these donkey charts, though.
Why is that?
Well,
elaborate.
I mean, sometimes there just are spots. Like I told you last week, there's just no way I wasn't betting the Texans. And that's that deep.
And I took the Bills. Remember, I said everyone say, "Hey, I'll be a Dan this time."
Oh, that didn't look good early on either. And yeah, they were down 21-0.
To quote a famous uncle from this show, sorry, I had to do a bunch of stuff getting ready for the Rivers game, but then I checked the paper. Looks like I won.
It's true. It doesn't matter how they win, man. As long as they get the dub, sometimes it's going to.
Or how about this? How about this? After watching that game, if both teams played in the playoff, or both teams played next week, who are you taking to win?
The Bills.
That's not a trick question. Yeah, not a trick question.
The Bill. I like the Bills with you last week. I didn't bet it, but
yeah. So if they ended up winning that game in dramatic fashion, and you think they would win the next game, then I could be happy with the call that I made. So that's kind of
no. That's not what I was saying. Is
Dave, this isn't to you.
This is
to them saying, you're lucky. How could you bang it? You were down 3 touchdowns. Yeah, but
60 minutes.
I'm not a maniac like you.
Yeah.
Well,
what I'm saying
relax.
If you bet them, it didn't feel good early on. The same thing when I bet the Cowboys a few weeks ago against the Eagles. I was like, man, did I read this wrong? And then they scored 24 unanswered. Man, you get plenty of time. But the Eagles, speaking of the Eagles, number 1 on the donkey charts, minus. Isn't it so funny how one game can sway everything? The Eagles had looked terrible. And then I told you last week, I was like, they either have to come in and win by 30, they have to annihilate the Raiders, or nothing else. If they win against Kenny Pickett by 3 points, consider it a loss. Chalk it up as a loss. I don't care if they make the playoffs or win the division. If you cannot handily dismantle that Raiders team is done. They've been done. If you can't destroy them at home, then you have nothing left. I don't care if Lane and Carter return, chalk it up. Is that maybe a little hyperbolic? Sure, but that's kind of how I felt.
Not really. That Raiders team is so bad. If you would have somehow, mean, come on.
Pickett threw for 64 yards or 62 yards. Like just terrible stuff. But the Eagles, 6.5 point favorites. My guess is they wait until week 17 to get Lane Johnson back. They're facing the Bills. But you know what? That actually might not be true. Walk through this with me, because you got Jalen Carter, who has the injury. You have Lane Johnson. The Eagles actually don't need help to win the division. I believe if they just win this week, then they win the division. And it's highly unlikely that they're getting a bye or anything like that. I mean, that feels like it's out of the equation. Could they shift home field advantage depending on where they finish? Sure. They have a matchup with the Bills bookended by 2 Washington Commanders matchups. So do they say, like, hey, you know what? Forget about the Bills matchup. It might not actually be that important if we can just get the win this week. I think that's actually realistic.
Yeah, I believe the only way they don't win the division is if they lose out and
Yes.
Dallas wins out.
Yep. I think you're right.
So
That
so
yeah,
yeah,
that
that
would have
means
to
that
be it,
means
right?
one win gets them the division.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that Bills game is probably going to be a lot more important to the Bills than it will be for the Eagles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't I tried doing these. There's a simulator. Maybe it's NFL.com, ESPN. I don't know, where you can kind of project the wins. What's weird is if the Bills and Patriots, they end up with the same amount of wins. I think the Bills don't get the division. So even if New England loses to the Ravens next week, which, probably will happen, because now New England has, I feel like they have that vibe where you can score a couple touchdowns on them, and the Ravens are coming off their, as I said last week, if you're a believer in the conspiracies and you want the NFL to make the most money as possible. Interesting, by the way, that the Taylor Swift, despite her still being heavily involved, what did the NFL? Oh no, Andy, they drained all the Taylor Swift money already. They got every last dollar out of that, so they're off that one and they're on to the new one. Josh Allen,
Right.
he's having a baby now. He's gonna have a kid, and then there's gonna be this big moment with the confetti and them kissing. So it's Bill's Super Bowl. That's how it works. So if you're one of those type of people, then the Ravens should be winning this weekend, because without that,
Sure.
are you getting any Pittsburgh drama? So you need the Ravens to win this weekend. And also, without that, are you going to get any Bills and Patriots drama? So there you go. You want the leaked script. Last week I gave you the tinfoil hat play. You want to be on the side of the league and the league making money? I should take the Bills. Same thing this week. You want to be on the side of the league and the league making money? Then you take the Baltimore Ravens. What do we have in that game? What is the spread?
In the Ravens game, by the way, that Browns +10 at home is calling my name, man. I got to tell you.
Hey, when a team works for you, you stick with it.
Yeah, and it last week or the week before it did not work, but I like that. Ravens are 3-point home favorites against the Patriots this week.
The even 3.
Yep, the even 3. Yep.
All right. Then I'm taking the even 3. And if I push, I say, hey, it was a good time. But I told you they would win.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they win the game. That
right.
is what's the money line? -148?
I'm on DraftKings. I don't have OddsShopper pulled up, but -162.
Roughly.
-162.
Okay.
If you're looking, best number on it is -152 on Caesars.
Hey, you want money line or I'm not listening? There you go. There's your money line. No, but it's not good enough to give a money line. I want a plus money underline because I don't want to take a money. Well, now you realize why you are who you are. Yeah, that's right. Bad neck, and I can still find the time to insult a theoretical person who I don't even know is out there. So -152 I just think the Ravens are going to win that one to make to make the NFL games matter toward the end of the year. Not so much for that Netflix schedule. They paid a lot, and they may as well put a Dave and a Dan on because it's going to be more interesting than the games they got. How much did they pay for that Chiefs game on Christmas? And oh my God, are they? Now, Dave, is there a moment where a guy really high up, like the two highest guys at Netflix, they called each other when Mahomes went down, and he just went fuck, like literally, just like two guys. He just he goes, yeah, fuck. Like
I hadn't even looked at these matchups. So, do they have all 3 of the Christmas Day games?
I believe they have 2 of the 3. I think they may have all 3.
Oh man, that's just bad luck. Oh,
so you think you guys are only the sports gamblers out there?
They don't have
Netflix had to put a gamble too, because come Christmas time, a lot of bad things can happen.
They don't have the Chiefs. You hear me?
Who do they have? Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. They must have got screwed.
Cowboys, Commanders.
Oh, that's a riveting one.
And Lions, Vikings, which that game could be cool because the Lions are probably not making the playoffs.
Correct.
Like they're on the outside. I think they have like a 19% chance of making the playoffs. So that's a pretty tough spot for them. Yeah, they got the Steelers this week. They should win that game. Still, I'm going to watch the games regardless. But
So where are the Chiefs playing? Amazon? What the hell's going on?
well, what I'm wondering is, did they just take them? Like, did they have that game and they just removed it?
What? Netflix just removed the game? What do you think they get a partial refund?
Like the league allowed them to flex it to another game. But actually, it's Chiefs Broncos. I would still watch that with Gardner Minshew.
Well, that brings me to something that I wanted to talk about next, and that is the Gardner Minshew version of the Chiefs. The Chiefs had one of the worst offensive lines, mostly due to injury this year. Mahomes did a ton of running. What can we actually expect from Gardner Minshew? And I bring this up not just for philosophical discussion, because, I mean, it pains me to say it. There's a bet that I want to suggest against a guy that I only like suggesting taking the opposite direction of his bets. So I want to first ask you, what do you think? What are they rolling out this week? A prideful Chiefs, or you know what? While it's going bad, let's just the worst version of the Chiefs.
It's hard to say because when the wheels start falling off, it can get ugly quick. You know, like this team is eliminated from playoff contention this early in the year. I say this early in the year, for them it is, right? What have they made it 10 straight years or something like that? That's a really tough call. I mean, look, I can tell you this much. The game right now has a 3.5 point spread and a 37.5 point total against the Titans, against the Tennessee Titans. What are you supposed to make of that? If there was one place I'd be looking towards, though, it's got to be Rashee Rice. Like if they intend on getting Rashee Rice, and all the starters are playing, which this early, like you're not week 17 or 18 yet. There you go. It feels like that you just pepper the guy who is phenomenal after the catch, and you can hit him on short to intermediate routes and let him do work after the fact. That's the way this game feels.
Well, there's no bigger proponent of Rashee Rice overs than this guy. That is contingent on the chemistry that him and Patrick Mahomes have had and whatnot. I don't think there should be a damn wide receiver on the Chiefs with a backup quarterback in who should be penciled in for 6 catches. I simply do not think that's the case. Like Rashee Rice with Mahomes, sure, he's so quick to look to him. We have no proof that Gardner Minshew is going to be as glued in on Rashee. I think we're just trying to say, like, oh yeah, it's going to kind of look the same. Who knows if this guy's going over to Worthy on throws behind the line of scrimmage? Who knows if he throws to Kelsey like he did multiple times on that final drive last week? Or who knows if in a lost season, Kareem Hunt gets no run and they just say, let Pacheco just, run the clock out on this season.
Or
and
Brashard
he gets
Smith.
a bunch. Oh, exactly. There can be a complete different game plan. So while maybe you'd be excited on Rashee Rice, I'm going under these 5.5 catches here.
No, I'm not. I didn't even know the number. I'm not excited on Rashee Rice. I'm not betting a juiced 5.5, but I do think that they're going to look. I genuinely think if there was, and this is what I'm saying, if there was a way where the offense could function, Kelsey's not really getting separation. Rashee Rice is just still your best player out there. And this is what you could say, unless you're J.J. McCarthy trying to get the ball to Justin Jefferson. Backup quarterbacks typically do lean on their top guys. Like you do see that quite often where, lesser talented quarterbacks. Hell, I remember Gardner Minshew got hurt in Las Vegas and Aiden O'Connell came in and he targeted Devontae Smith like 20 times in that game. Those are the weird type of performances that you happen to see a lot of times, but no, minus 118 on a 5.5. That's big. You like the under? I don't like the over, but I don't like the under either. I think there's way too many question marks. And while Gardner Minshew isn't good, like we know he's not good. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Even though Mahomes has thrown more hospital balls to R.Rice over the past couple of weeks than he has in his career,
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew isn't Quinn Ewers. Like he's not, he's not that bad, especially with a week of preparation.
All right, so then maybe, a lot of question marks there. Chiefs, we don't exactly know the juice they're going to bring. If they're quitting, we don't know how the offense is going to run. We haven't seen Minshew, so maybe we could focus a little bit on teams who we know what we're getting. It's going to be a meaningful game, and in those meaningful games, it's more predictable. And I talk about the NHL all the time. In a playoff series, finally, we're getting a good team and a good team, and we know what they try to do. There aren't going to be many mail-ins come playoff times, even though they randomly happen from time to time. But we're seeing the second meeting in 3 weeks between the Bears and Packers. We know how the last one went. I mean, it was very impressive what the Bears were able to do, and every time that Green Bay threw a punch their way, they seemed to come back, and they came back to the very end and lost on the final throw of the game. And one thing, whether it's the Eagles or whether it's the Packers, these are tough defenses that they're playing, and they continue to stick with the run, whether it takes them 2 quarters or 4 quarters to eventually start popping big ones. And I say this because what we've seen from D.Swift and the consistent use that he's been, almost all season, but he's actually really playing well. He's playing his best football maybe in his whole career. What is this? Shouldn't it be 64, 68?
Probably. This Bears team run blocks really well. It's an incredible skill set right now. Like they really do run block well. And they're opening up massive holes in this offense. By the way, Saturday game for those of you who are watching this on like Saturday morning or Friday night or something. This is a Saturday game. Same with the Philly-Washington game. But yeah, D.Swift is going to keep getting a lot of work. Now you always have Kyle Monangai in there, which can be a little bit frustrating at times. But the expectation here, when you look at the spread, which is not significant at all. I mean, this should be a competitive game. We've got a 1.5 point spread. Packers favored by 1.5 at home. Also, just lost Micah Parsons to an ACL. That's a pretty big deal, right? Like maybe you're not talking about like run stuffing, but just the idea that he's not on the defense, sustaining drives could be a whole lot easier without Parsons out there. So that does, I like that. I actually do. I like that. I hadn't considered Swift yet, but I can get on board.
How about back-to-back huge games for that Green Bay defense? Physical games against the Bears. And then when they played last week against the Broncos in Denver. I mean, that's 3 physical games in a row. And Ben Johnson's going to stick with the run. Yeah, the more I talk about it, actually, the more I like it. I mean, I didn't really throw out any alts with this one, but there was one that it's in a game that matters, and I feel like how are you feeling about the Buccaneers before they take on Carolina here?
I don't know. I have no clue. If I were to bet it right now, I'd probably bet the Panthers as 3-point dogs. I mean, there's something wrong with that Bucs team right now.
I agree with you. Fortunately, what I'm about to give has nothing to do with them either winning, losing, or covering or not covering. And that is a guy who had a great start to the year and then struggled for a while. And then something that I didn't really want to talk about, but I wanted to keep a crooked eye on. My thought is that E.Egbuka is going to have his best games when the full complement of players are on the field, as he did earlier in the year. And without fail, produced his best game since those earlier weeks. I believe he got up to like 68 or 7, right around 70 yards, I believe, something like that. And in a game where you're going to have all those same guys out there. Now, you had Evans with the huge week, but still, E.Egbuka had, his number went way down because of how much he'd struggled when he was the lone option. But he seems to thrive when the coverage is rolled, to different type of players. And we're seeing him here listed at 41.5. I really like that 41.5. I really do. And I don't mind sprinkling a couple alts on that one too. So this is a personal thing I was looking for. I ran it on the test field. We did the trials, and now I'm willing to give it to the public. It's a bald medication, one of those hair loss medications. It worked on the rats, and now I'm going to see if it works on all of you.
I'm okay with it. Look, last week what we saw was plainly obvious. Kobe Bryant, corner for Tampa or for Atlanta, Baker Mayfield just decided that he was going to pepper him, and he spent a lot of time on Mike Evans. Of course, you have J.C. Horn for Carolina, but I don't think you're going to see any like shadow coverage or anything in a spot like this. That would.
I hope they do. I hope he's glued to Evans.
Well, or the other way around. But I don't think.
No. Egbuka couldn't put up stats all year in the middle of this year when he was by himself.
Of course, but why did Atlanta have their worst corner on Mike Evans all of last game?
Because they thought he was going to be a decoy, just doing the Greg Jennings limp out there. They said he was going to play a few snaps.
Could be. I did ladder him in that game. But
anyway, this is my belief is this guy thrives when all the other receivers are out there taking attention
it's actually a totally valid belief. His catch rate was terrible when those guys were out, or particularly, I mean, even when Godwin came back, when Evans was out, it was terrible. Early in the year, both of those guys were healthy. Now, you're not the first person I've heard say that either. It does actually make quite a bit of sense. This is a must-win game for the Tampa Bay. I mean, it is a wildly important game.
So they play again last week.
I know.
So if they split those, what happens? I didn't run the simulator.
I don't know. They both have the same record, because the Panthers managed to lose to the Saints last week, knowing that the Bucs had already lost, which is insane.
I mean, Carolina is straight garbage. At least we've seen Tampa win some playoff games in recent years. Carolina is what an awful playoff game that would be.
It's just fool's gold when you see them go out and beat the Rams, and you're like, man, does this team have it? And then they lose 2 times in 3 weeks to the Saints. They were coming off a bye. I liked the Panthers last week. I'm thinking they're coming off a bye. They get healthy, and then you lose to the Saints. And I mean, that was terrible. So I'm with you. I have one for you. What do you think CJ Stroud's passing attempt prop is this week?
That's never one that I've paid close attention to unless it was a specific quarterback. Who are they playing against? They were huge
at
favorites.
Home against the Raiders.
21.5.
Dude, okay. So now we're on the same page. It's 32.5.
Let's take it. That's it. I don't need to. I'm starting with, but what about? No, I don't care. I'll take it.
Well, don't just say that. I mean, if you have another angle that I'm missing.
The other angle would be Woody Marks. As I told you this guy they had to drag off the floor 2 weeks ago. He couldn't get through the last game. I don't know if Nick Chubb's going to be ready. Maybe they have no running backs, so the sports was like, well, they got nobody, so they got to throw. That's the only angle I could think of.
Could be perfectly reasonable from everything I saw.
But who cares? Who cares if your grandpa's in there? Just hand the ball off anyway.
D'Amico Ryan, that's what D'Amico Ryan said he would have been fine to return. You know, it's funny you say that, though, because the Eagles actually struggled to run last game. They were not running the ball well at all and Hurts threw 15 times in that spot, and I had 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, Barkley had 22 rushing attempts, averaged 3.5 yards per attempt. Tank Bigsby had 17 rushing attempts. So that's 39 and averaged 3.4. That's 39 between the two of those guys. You know, include Jalen Hurts rushing attempts in that game, which was 7? They had 46 rushing attempts and 50. I don't know how many times Tanner McKee threw. 3 times. So that was a 46 or 45, whatever. Yeah, 46 to 18 split, which is just ridiculous, man. I'm not saying
any chance of Geno coming back. That was the second thing I wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters.
It matters a little because the other bum truly it will be straight punts. At least Geno at least maybe will have a drive or two. You know, because really what we're banking on is it's a similar game like last week.
Yeah.
I mean, the Raiders with Geno did take the Broncos to the very end. That at least is in there. Kenny Pickett's not doing a
Divisional
blessed
team,
thing
too.
out there.
Yeah.
So
I look at divisional matchups a little differently, though, sometimes. Like
fair.
Broncos, Raiders.
But
I don't know.
look,
32
regardless,
and a half
I'm not.
high.
Yeah, I'm completely with that under. One last one here that I had. Isn't this nice, ladies and gentlemen? You ask, and I try to give what I can. But there was a running back with, how about this? Running back with workhorse utilization last week. See if you can guess the guy. Had a pretty huge game. Playing in yet another meaningless game.
Workhorse utilization?
Fringe, maybe. I think the other running back got 4 carries.
Michael Carter?
Little Tyrone Tracy.
That was going to be my second guess. Singletary only got 4 last week. Oh, yeah.
So it's like, all right, Singletary's done with them. They had Dart playing the way, he kind of ran more. It was a little bit of the old school Dart there. And then you have Tyrone Tracy at home against the Vikings, who, yeah, they got a good defense. But I mean, just at some point, I don't know, man. The Vikings really motivated for this one?
No, probably not. Not to mention that they just put Jonathan Greenard on the IR, and Josh Metellus. So the 2 defenders now done for season-ending IR. That doesn't help either. Yeah, coming off a big Sunday night primetime win against the Cowboys. And this spread's only 2.5, I think. Tracy, look, it's not the best matchup, but I get it.
I know, but what I'm trying to suggest is at the end of the year, let go of some of the rules of earlier. Who gives a rat's ass about making that truly, put your head down and potentially injure yourself tackle with the Miami Cincy game, with this game? Like, it's different. Prime time. You're going up against the Cowboys. We're fighting for the last bit of life. A lot to prove there. Big spot. Nobody's watching this game, including me, if I take this bet. Tough to get it up, as I like to say, on a Sunday afternoon in cold New York with nothing to play for. So that will be kind of my last one as we go here, because it's been quite an eventful episode with a good amount of sniffs in there. Dave, thank you so much. Coming back, week 16. My one best ball team's dead, so that was fun while it lasted. I will not be visiting the chocolate factory.
Good lineup.
Yeah, but I guess the Kyle Pitts thing I heard ruined all sorts of smart people. So, R.I.P. to the best ball crowd. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Longer episode here. Make sure you do us the favors. You have my favors, just like, comment, subscribe. But Dave can help you. I had no hockey videos this week, so if you need to find yourself, you just need this whole plethora and wealth of picks, tell them where to get them, Dave. Yeah, man, tails.bet. Andy's nice enough to put the link in the description, and we got a lot of free bets over there, a lot of great stuff. You can one-click tail it. So if it's a 6-leg, as Andy likes to call them, pirate parlay, load that straight into your bet slip, right? One click, whatever sports book you want. No manual labor on your part. Follow the people you want, tail them, check the leaderboards out to see who's crushing. It's gotten to the point where having to add things to a ticket is the 2025 manual labor. Opening up FanDuel and finding the bet. Hey, guys, you don't have to do that oil rig work by adding 5 picks to a ticket. We even had to do that for you. What an awful place we live in nowadays. That was tongue-in-cheek, however. No, it is very convenient. It's very convenient. Yeah, but you know what you've become? You've become the gas station who prints out people's Mega Millions tickets. I feel like when I enter them myself, right, it feels a little bit better. So if you want, you can still add them yourselves. My guess is you don't, but that is a great feature they put there. They have the alts already added, so you just go, and then it's in your ticket. So, and you can't screw it up either. You can't accidentally, bet the other side when you're trying. Yeah, you can't choose Brady Kachuk instead of Matthew Kachuk and screw yourself when the wrong Kachuk hits. So, definitely check Dave out over there. We'll be back with you week 17. Dave and Dan, looking forward to it. I will talk to you then. Take it easy.